Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Um, Welcome to a new episode of Palestine Chronicle TV. Let me just adjust my camera a little bit here. We have with us today a very special human being, a Gazan, a Palestinian educator, a man of great principles, and the father of Mohammed al-Halaby. I know that many of you already know who Mohammed al-Halaby is and what this man had to go through in order for him to simply be able to contribute to the steadfastness of his people living in Gaza under a hermetic Israeli siege. Muhammad is deservingly called a humanitarian hero by the UN, and we will find out from his own father why that is the case. But then also try to understand, why would Muhammad be spending his 5th year in prison without his family, without his 5 children, and without his parents? So please help me welcome Mr. Khalil al-Halaby. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Khalil.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you, Doctor.
Now, Mr. Halaby is speaking
As
to
you,
us from Gaza at this point. We hope that the connection lasts. We hope that the electricity lasts. So we are going to do the best we can to give him the space and the room to speak about his son. Mr. Halaby, if you could kindly just tell us first about Muhammad as a person, as a son, as a father, as a human being, independent from all the politics.
okay. As you know, Muhammad, he's born April 1978. He's the second of 7 brothers. We are from original city Al-Majdal, Asqalan. Muhammad born and raised in Jabalia camp as the refugees. And he educated in UNRWA schools in Jabalia camp. Muhammad, he have 5 children. The youngest one 5 years. He don't see his father because the Israeli arrested him when he was 1 year. Also, Mohammed, as you know, was director of World Vision in Gaza. Mohammed, in his work, likes to work in a teamwork. Mohammed worked with his directors. Mohammed, the Israeli arrested him after he returned back through Erez crossing, when he was in a routine meeting with the international staff of World Vision in Jerusalem, because he wanted to bring a project for Gaza and collect money for the Gazan people, for the Palestinian people in Gaza. As you know, the Palestinian people in Gaza in 2016, the Israeli imposed the blockade in Gaza. They arrested him because, he brought many projects for the Gazan people. This is the Israeli. When they arrested him, they asked him, why you bring this project for the Palestinian people? Because I want to help them, because we are a humanitarian organization in Gaza. But unfortunately, when they arrested him, in the first day, they arrested him. After 3 days, we know the Israeli arrested him by the ICRC. And they put him in Ashkelon prison.
Mr. Khalil, if you don't mind me just interjecting there for a second. Um, let me just ask you before we talk about the actual prison experience for a minute here. So
Yeah.
we understand the political context of Muhammad's arrest, because Gaza is under siege. It has been under siege for many years, and people are suffering in
Yes.
numerous ways, including
Yes.
the lack of medicine, especially cancer medicine. Now, World Vision comes in and they fill a lot of these gaps. And Muhammad is the one who's directing this operation. So obviously, Muhammad is helping Gaza withstand the Israeli siege and the Israeli pressure. Have they indicated prior to his arrest that they were not happy with his work? Have they told him he needs to stop doing what he was doing? Or it was just the first time that they make this kind of contact with him?
Yes. Uh, when they arrested him, on the first day, they accused him, you are helping the resistant, the Palestinian resistant. But and you know, in that time, Prime Minister Netanyahu and all the Israeli talked in the media about we arrested one who helped the Palestinian in the media. But in the second day, the leadership of World Vision make a press conference, and he told this is not true about Muhammad, accusation about Muhammad, because we know every dollar where is he going. And I want to give you example. Muhammad, when he visited Jerusalem, he met the ambassador of Australia. Australia, the main donated to the World Vision. The ambassador in that time, Dav Sharma, he worked closely with Muhammad, and he visited all his projects in Gaza. And also, he said on the Australian, the foreign minister in Australia at that time said there is no evidence against Mohammed al-Halaby. This article in Guardian newspaper. There is no evidence. Also, the World Vision said there is no evidence because you know in that time they want the World Vision and Australia formed investigation team, not from Gaza. This investigation team from outside Gaza, and they collect all the files, and they collect all the files from World Vision, and they account every dollar go to the Palestinian, and they found no evidence against Muhammad in that time. This is now when Muhammad subjected to the court, the judge in the court told him, believe me, one of the court he named he was Arabian a judge. What I forget his name. He told Muhammad, believe me, we know that you are innocent, but we don't told the Israelis you are innocent because we could not said that the Israeli state is liar, and they are liar. They are liar in Muhammad case because all the auditors from World Vision from Australia said that no evidence against Muhammad, but till now. They told him during the court, this is the problem. We want to convince about a silly charge, because your case embarrassment the Israeli state. This is what they said to him. Now, many courts for Muhammad, 137 unfair courts, because they need to convince him to say something he did not do it. This is the problem.
Now this is really interesting. Now, we had people who were very much involved in the resistance, people who have been, doing the kind of work that Israel, of course, frown upon. who haven't been placed in court 137 times. Mohammed al-Halaby, a humanitarian who has been helping children, who has been providing badly needed medications and life-saving
Yes.
medications to Gazans, have been going through tremendous amount of humiliation, torture even, and we are going to talk about this here in a second, because of his work. And it kind of comes to show you how Israel is really ultimately afraid of those who are able to prolong the steadfastness of the Palestinian people. For Israel, these are the real danger to its projects, whether in the West Bank, in Gaza, or in East Jerusalem. I'm going to bring in here our managing editor of the Palestine Chronicle, Romana Rubio, who is going to be reading excerpts from Muhammad's story as published in this book, These Chains Will Be Broken. The book includes a story, a very emotive and powerful story written by his father, Khalil, who is here with us today. The name of the story is Humanitarian Hero.
Yes.
And I am going to bring in, so Romana, hello, how are you?
Thank you, Khalil, for being here, and thank you, Ramzi, of course.
Romana,
Yeah.
but I want to talk something about Muhammad. Muhammad, in his work, he visited the Australian Parliament, and they give him an opportunity to speak to in front of the Australian Parliament. And many of Australian Parliament knows him, and they contact me and ask about Muhammad, because Muhammad in that time in the Australian Parliament, go to Australia to bring a project for the Gaza.
And of course, we are going to be talking about this. I will be asking you about it in a few minutes, Mr. Al-Halaby, about what is, the so-called international community doing to release Muhammad, Australia in particular. So we'll come back to this, but we're just going to give the stage here to Romana for a couple of minutes to read an excerpt. So please don't go away. We'll call you right back.
Okay.
Mohammed spent 52 days under constant and harrowing interrogation. From the very first day of detention, the Israeli intelligence officers placed a filthy bag over his head and hanged him from the ceiling for prolonged periods of time. They denied him sleep, and whenever they were done with their terrible deeds, they would throw him into an extremely tiny cell, barely large enough for one person to sit down, let alone sleep. He would be left there without a mattress and without a cover. He was physically assaulted on numerous occasions. Each time they would follow the same brutal routine. They slapped him, kicked him, especially in his genitals, and then strangled him until he felt that he was about to die. They would stop and resume a short while later. At times, they placed him in a small room and played extremely loud music until the pain in his ears became unbearable. In the summer, they would strip him naked, then blast him with flashes of warm air. They would repeat the same process in the winter, but with cold air instead. Mohammed's lawyer conveyed all of this to us in the most graphic details. My heart is broken for my son. All he was doing was trying to help needy people. He often spoke of empowering the downtrodden and disadvantaged in Gaza, and almost every day he shared with me stories of the difference World Vision's work was making in the life of ordinary people. His time in prison and all the physical torture he was forced to endure have left him quite ill. Just the fact that they kept slamming him against the wall while shaking him repeatedly and violently made him faint several times, but Israeli authorities refused to let him see a doctor.
Thank you very much, Romana, for this very sad and tragic concept.
Absolutely.
From the book, These Chains Will Be Broken, which includes also the stories of 19 other Palestinian prisoners who are enduring for various reasons. You know, some are humanitarians, others are artists, others are Facebook bloggers, others are fighters, others are people who had really, being placed in a system that is so heartless and brutal and also senseless, in the sense that if they don't have any indictment against you, or rather, if they don't have any evidence to indict you, they could put you in court for 137 times and counting, hoping that maybe their torture techniques will pay off at one point in the future. This is what they are trying to extract from Mohammed. So, Romana, stay put. We'll call you back in a bit.
Of course.
And we are bringing back Mr. Khalil al-Halaby. Again, if you could tell us, Mr. al-Halaby, about the efforts. You know, you said that he was invited to speak in front of the Australian Parliament. You know, he has he commands a great deal of respect among various foreign missions in Palestine. And why haven't they been able to exert enough pressure to release Mohammed? What is happening right now?
As I told you, Mohammed speaks in Australian Parliament to bring a project for Gaza. But now, why the Israeli now not releasing Mohammed from the prison? Why? This is the main question. In every court, they told him, we need you to convince about silly charges to release you. Why? They are, this is not good for Mohammed. They need any charges now to make a huge for the media. Mohammed now, he is a liar. He is, after 4 years, he is a liar. Now he convinced about something.
And of course, in doing so, they want to indict the entire humanitarian efforts in Gaza. So this is about Mohammed, but it's also about something that's bigger than the individual.
Yes. Sometimes they told the lawyer, we need the charges for World Vision, and they want to separate Mohammed and World Vision. But they are in one box, Mohammed and World Vision. No one can separate, make separation between them, because if World Vision have any charges, they want to close all World Vision. If Mohammed have any charges, this is maybe destroyed all the humanitarian or aid for Gaza. This is what the Israel aimed in Mohammed case, and now, the Israeli threatening him through, during the courts. They told him, if you not accept to say something about any charge, we will rule him many years, long years. Why? And long years. Or we want to rule you about secret file. Secret file is very serious. Secret file, they told him, then you can complain to the international community. You can complain to anyone. They don't know why we ruled him. Now,
to explain,
in the last court,
Mr. Halaby, just to explain to readers very quickly about what this secret file means. It essentially, because Israel is ruled through a system that kind of gives credence to so-called, holding evidence in the name of national security. So you have hundreds of Palestinian political prisoners who are in prison for years based on secret evidence, based on evidence that cannot be revealed to the lawyer or even to the court. And they have this, and they are trying to basically use the same tactic against Muhammad. But if I could ask you just about the torture, you know through the lawyer that Muhammad has been tortured a great deal. Tell us a little bit more about
Yes.
what you know about the type of
Yes, sir.
torture he's enduring.
Muhammad, during his arrest, 52 days, they tortured him, severe torture. And now he lost 70% from his hearing because of severe torture. And unfortunately, doctors, they took him to the doctors. When he told the doctors, this is, the doctors asked him, why you are hearing? He told him from the torture. Then the Israeli doctors flushed the papers and he kicked him out. But when he told the doctor, this is from the torture. This is what happened with Muhammad. Muhammad, 52 days tortured and severe torture, and they affect now in his hearing. This is, and I informed all the media in Gaza, also in Israel, about what happened to Muhammad. Believe me, many of the Israeli journalists, some of them told me Muhammad case is embarrassing the Israeli state. This is from the Israeli journalists. Many of them wrote in Haaretz and in Times of Israel about Muhammad case. This case embarrassment the Israeli state. And believe me, they tortured him. And Muhammad told me maybe in يوم القيامة, maybe I don't torture in يوم القيامة as I tortured in Israeli prison.
That maybe in the day of judgment, that kind of torture that you'd expect is not as harrowing as that
Yes.
of Israel. I haven't asked you this question before, Mr. al-Halaby, and that is the operation of World Vision. Is World Vision still operating in Gaza?
No, the Israelis stopped it because they waiting the Israeli court what about Muhammad case.
So basically, as long as Muhammad is held in prison, as long as World Vision operations and the help of thousands of families and children in Gaza is halted permanently, which kind of it suggests clearly that this is really the ultimate aim by Israel anyway. Just before we finish, if you have any last words you'd like to say, and what is your message to foreign missions in Palestine, to NGOs, to the international community, Mr. al-Halaby?
I want to send the message to international community. How long will the world remain silent in face of Israel injustice? Muhammad is example. Muhammad al-Halaby is example. 4 years in prison. 4 years. They accused him without a charge, without any evidence. They accused him with charges without any evidence. How long the world remain silent in Muhammad case? And believe me, I sent many messages to Secretary General of United Nations and many emails, and I received his email, and he told me we are not we are following up Muhammad case, but I need in the ground how they are following Muhammad. Also my message, what are you waiting, the leaders of free world? What are you waiting? يعني Muhammad case now, all the international community knows about his case. I need from the ministers, the foreign ministers, the secretary general, all the leadership to interfere in Muhammad case, to release him, to talk with the Israelis. This is injustice, to stay in prison 4 years without evidence. This is the problem. This is my message to them.
Thank you very much for this, Mr. Halaby. Just to remind our listeners that Muhammad has 5 children of his own. This is one of his beautiful children. I think his name is Faris. And just calling for the release of his father. And his other, one of his beautiful children, holding a sign, freedom for my father, Muhammad al-Halaby.
And doctor.
Yes.
Doctor.
Go ahead.
Another statement, but in the last, yes. In the last court, the Israeli threatens also the lawyer not to put in his computer anything about Muhammad case, not to write about Muhammad case. They want from the lawyer to forget what happened with Muhammad. This is another problem now. They created another problem for Muhammad case. They threatened Muhammad, also threatening the lawyer not to write anything in his computer, not to write in his book, not to, they want from his mind, to remember from his mind for years for this. And now he sent appeal to the Superior Court about this issue. Why? Why they threatening me not to write in my computer? How the lawyer want to be defender about Muhammad? If he don't use his computer or his book, or he want to remember what happened in 4 years, and many, also doctor, many witnesses from the international staff, many witnesses, not from Palestinian, from international staff, from America, from Australia, from Germany, testify.
Okay, this is what we were fearing, that the electricity in Gaza will go off right in the middle of the interview. Luckily, we managed to extract a lot of important information about Muhammad's case, Muhammad al-Halaby's case, from his father, Khalil al-Halaby, in Gaza. And this is kind of a live example of what Gazans have to endure. The electricity went out and we are not able to finish our chat, unfortunately, with Muhammad al-Halaby's father. That said, we will continue to follow up on this case, as we have since Muhammad was arrested 4 years ago. And we have reported on every case and every court case since then, and we are looking at 137 different court cases. Thank you very much to Mr. al-Halaby for joining us. I am sure that we are going to be talking to him again. There is an article that him and I wrote together that was published in Middle East Monitor about Muhammad's case. You can check it out. Romana, maybe you can help us by linking it as well. I'm going to buzz Romana in quickly. You heard me about the article on Middle East Monitor.
Yes, Ramzi, I already shared the Palestine Chronicle version of the article, of course.
Oh, fantastic. And of course, for more information, you can check out this book, These Chains Will Be Broken, Palestinian Stories of Struggle and Defiance in Israeli Prisons. And in that book, there is a full and complete story of Muhammad al-Halaby. So this is our program for today. We're just going to take 2 final minutes just to touch on the main topic for the day that we are covering on the Palestine Chronicle. Romana, do you want to tell us about it?
Yes, Ramzi, of course, I cannot avoid to ask you. The Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas last night announced that his leadership will be ceasing all arrangement with Israel and the US in the light of Israeli annexation plans, especially because Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu presented his government to the Knesset renewing the pledge for annexation. So this is not the first time that Mahmoud Abbas threatens to cancel all agreements. So many people are a little bit skeptical and they cannot see the difference. Can you help us going through this news and, understanding what's different now, if there is some difference, of course?
Right. So I actually need help myself, to be honest with you, Romana, because Mahmoud Abbas is a very confusing man. On one hand, he speaks of resistance and counter strategies and holding Israel accountable and bringing Israeli war criminals to the ICC, and he gets people all excited. And on the other hand, he has been for many years participating in this shameful security coordination charade, which basically Israeli and Palestinian officers working together to suppress resistance in the West Bank and to contribute to the war crimes and the human rights violations that he is supposedly trying to try Israel for. So he's a very, very confusing man, and I suspect that he's a confused man as well. Now, if indeed the news are correct or that he is sincere in the sense that he's no longer threatening to cancel the agreements, but rather he is canceling the agreement and he has the PLO okay to actually do so, it could be something new. And we have to wait and see if that is the case and what do we do with that information then. That in mind, I think even if he is indeed sincere and even if he canceled the agreements, which by the way, they have been kind of de facto canceled by Israel anyway, because when you annex the West Bank or 30% of the West Bank and the Jordan Valley, and you say, forget about everything else that we have agreed on, and we are going to take unilateral measures, then you are canceling the agreement. So his is kind of a belated move to appear as if he is taking the initiative. But I think it ultimately all depends on what happens now. Is he going to reach out to other Palestinian factions to resurrect the PLO and to give an equal and democratic representation to all parties, to formulate a new Palestinian strategy, to talk about a new roadmap that is Palestinian-centric, and to offer new ideas on how do we end the occupation and Israeli apartheid in Palestine. If that is the intention, then and these are the next steps, then I think we might actually be onto something here. But again, we have known this man for so many years, and we kind of grew tired of his, hundreds of broken promises. I want to believe that this time is different, but we've been here before. So let's just wait and see. At the Palestine Chronicle, we are doing our best to keep our readers abreast on all the developments, all the breaking news, and this particular story is going to be featuring in our coverage at least for a week or so. So follow us, go to PalestineChronicle.com, read our news, share our news, and share your feedback with us as well. So I think maybe that's it for us because we are exceeding our time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I am sharing in the comment section the stories related to Mahmoud Abbas's decision, so the readers and the viewers can have their own idea about it. And I thank you. I thank Mr. al-Halaby and of course all the prisoners and the family that helped you and us, writing this book, These Chains Will Be Broken, which was an emotional journey too for all of us who took part in it. And I thank all the viewers, of course, and all the readers of the Palestine Chronicle. See you next week.
Thank you very much, Romana, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday, at 12 p.m. Pacific time. That is 10
Yeah.
10 p.m. Palestine time as well. All right, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.